Okay, so the rat has just helped Roz through the sewers, but I left you knowing that the next chapter was called The Chase. So Roz is back out on the pavement. She doesn't know where. She was just told to go back up that tunnel. Hopefully it will help. We'll see. So, chapter 78, The Chase. The street was empty. No people walking. No robots working. No automobiles driving. Roz looked into the sky, hoping to see Brightbill or Strutter. But what she saw was a fleet of white, triangular airships. They were floating over the city, searching for the runaway robot, and they had just spotted her. "Rosum Unit 7134, do not move!" 3 robots zipped down from the ship on cables. They were Recco's 10, 11, and 12. So these are extra ones, the ones from the zips earlier. Each held a rifle at his side, but they didn't fire their weapons. Not yet. Their orders were to retrieve the target unharmed, if possible. Our robot survival instincts blared like sirens in her head, and she burst away from the Reccos. She sprinted down the empty streets and turned onto another empty street. All the streets seemed to be empty, but they wouldn't be empty for long. More and more big, bulky robots came zipping down to join the chase. The Reccos moved like machines. Their target moved like an animal. The wild robot stayed low, gliding across the street, darting around buildings, vanishing into the shadows. Her computer brain thought back to those games of hide and seek, and she had played on the farm when she had played on the farm. But this was no game. Roz never should have gone into that alley. She was halfway through it when Reccos appeared at both ends. There was only one direction to go. Using all the strength in her legs, our robot launched herself high into the air, and she clamped onto the side of a building. Frightened faces peered out from the window, but Roz didn't want to frighten anyone. She just wanted to go home. The robot launched herself up and across the alley and clamped onto the opposite building. Back and forth she went, leaping between the buildings, climbing higher and higher until she landed on a flat, roofy rooftop. So she's jumped and zigzagged her way up. The sky was filled with white airships. All at once, the ships turned towards Roz. Their engines buzzed, and they closed in on our robot. But then came a strange swishing noise. Pigeons! Hundreds of them, thousands of them. Wave upon wave of pigeons streamed up from the streets and swarmed all around the airship. Strutter had rallied her friends from every corner of the city. They had always hated airships, buzzing loudly, crowding the skies, forcing the birds to fly low. And now a city's worth of pigeons were finally unleashing their anger. Imagine a swarm of angry pigeons, thousands of them, terrifying. As you'd expect, the airships fought back. Blazing beams of light flickered across the skyline and left charred feathers floating on the breeze. But the pigeons didn't retreat. They tightened around the ship, distracting them, confusing them. There were a deafening screech, little bodies fell, and ships spiraled out of sight, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. Roz watched in horror as more and more pigeons and ships went down. She hollered for the birds to fly away, but they were lost in a fighting frenzy. Heavy feet thumped onto the roof. "Rosum Unit 7134, do not move!" Roz didn't look. She just ran from the voice, leapt to the next rooftop, and kept on running. Our robot leapt up to a high rooftop and then down to a lower one. Up and down she went, leaping from building to building, footsteps thundering behind her. But still, the Reccos did not fire their rifles. "Mama, I'm here!" Brightbill swooped along his mother as she ran. "What should we do?" "Brightbill, you must fly to safety," hollered Roz. "It is too dangerous up here." And then in a softer voice, the robot said, "I cannot escape." "No, Mama, you've come this far. Don't give up now." So here's Roz leaping over the buildings. Here are our Reccos chasing her, and you can see they are holding their rifles. Not great. But Roz was finished running. She slowed and stopped at the edge of the rooftop. The goose fluttered into her arms, and our friends held each other close. "You have been such a good son," said Roz. "You have saved my life so many times, but now you must save yourself and go on without me." "Will I see you again?" said Brightbill, wiping his eyes. "I do not think so," said Roz. They still had so much to say to each other. They simply didn't have any more time. So they said the only words that really mattered. "I love you, Mama." "I love you, son." Airships circled above. Reccos dropped onto rooftops. Rifles pointed at our robot. A voice boomed. "Recco Rosum Unit 7134, do not move." But Roz did move. She heaved her son towards the sky so that he could fly to safety, and in that instance, a trigger was pulled. A blazing beam of light flashed onto our robot's leg. Damage sensors flared as the leg turned bright orange and melted away. Poor Roz tried to keep her balance, but she was already toppling backwards, off the roof. She seemed to hang in the air, sparkling in the sunlight, and then she fell, down, 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 to the streets below. As Roz was falling, she took one last look at Brightbill, soaring in the sky above. She watched him get smaller and smaller, and then everything suddenly went dark. And funnily enough, I'm going to leave it there. What a place to finish. Come back tomorrow because we still have got a few more pages to go. So it might not be the end of Roz just yet.